Greetings and welcome everybody to the Jane Live Miracle Medicine on a Thursday. It's really exciting to see you here again. All eager to hear what we're going to be belting out today. So in the series that I'm doing at the moment, last week we discussed and discovered minerals and the beautiful sources of minerals that bring in vitality, life force, and energy to the body. And similarly, today we'll be looking at the next feature, which is proteins. And when we break down protein, we get amino acids. So amino acids are, many of them, absolutely essential to the body. That means we don't make them. Therefore, we need to get them from sources of food. I'm going to be pointing out today very high sources of protein that are easily digestible. In other words, don't take a lot of the body's energy to digest and metabolize. And this is important because then the body can use its energy for other things like immunity, warding off disease, warding off infections, and so on. So we want to be always using our fuel, if you like, as effectively as possible. It's almost like a car and a car engine, a battery, and let's use it as efficiently and effectively as possible. Because the protein structure is critical for the form of the body, the cells, the tissues, and even holds the spiritual side of ourselves. So, as I say, without further ado, I'm going to launch into that. If you've got any questions, please do pop them down in the chat. And I'm just going to see if anyone else is here to update. I see some people are still here, so that's beautiful. Okay. In a lovely Cape Town today. So those of you who are down here, give me a call. And I'm here for a week's rest after handing in the doctorate thesis, which I'm still waiting to hear regarding my interview, and then that will be done and dusted. So I'm still piecing together all the lost fragments that went by the wayside over the last year and a half or so. So bear with me. And I'm going to be, as I say, started the series now where we're going to be looking at the different aspects of nutrition and what they do. So regarding proteins, the 365 Healthy by Choice range has very, very superior proteins, high-level proteins that are complete also. So the complete protein would mean it's got all the essential amino acids, and sometimes you get incomplete proteins, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit longer. So with emphasis today specifically on things like spirulina, blue-green algae, chlorella, the algae. Those would be the sweet water, the freshwater algae. We'll be looking at kelp, Irish moss, wakame kelp. Those would be the saltwater algae. Full of proteins and obviously minerals and other sterols and things as well. We'll look at the medicinal mushrooms, the Reishi, the Chaga, Shiitake, Cordyceps, lion's mane, Maitake, Coriolus, a load of those. All essential amino acids, what I'm mentioning so far. We'll also look at pollen, raw jelly, propolis, also essential amino acids, and then direct foods that you can get it from as well, like quinoa and sprouts, organic nuts and seeds. So let's go. When we're starting with the proteins and amino acids, they're the fundamental components, building blocks, if you like, of all living cells. So we have to have them. And as I said, it's the rigidity, the structure of the cell, the tissue, the organ, the body. They play a vital role in various biological processes. And as I said, the structure, the functioning of the cells, tissues, the organs, and regulation of these organs and tissues. So that's very, very important. They're essential for growth and repair, maintenance. So you can imagine a little children where you've got cells dividing really quickly. They're needing to get a good source of protein that's easily digestible, easily metabolized, easily absorbed directly into the cells from the blood. And very important for the muscles, for the skin, the hair, the nails, creating a nice framework. So if anybody's ever had laser treatment on the eyes in particular, and you smell a kind of a burning smell, that's protein, just to tell you. I don't know what made me think of that, but anyway. Now I'm going to look at the specific things that go flat, especially if the proteins are missing. So in order to ensure that the proteins don't go missing, we need to eat a cross-section of proteins, some I've mentioned already, and make sure that they're there, because otherwise there will be a link to disease on some level. So in particular, enzymes. Enzymes are critical for all the pathways in the body. An enzyme will sit at the interface between the spiritual potential energy and the physical kinetic energy. So enzymes live at that interface. They're crucial. We get a lot of naturally occurring enzymes in fruit, also vegetables, but specifically fruit, just so that you know that. And that'll be all protein, made up of proteins. So they are a protein is a type of a catalyst in all these biochemical processes. And we get different kinds of enzymes. We'll get a digestive enzyme that works while we eat, lipase, protease, and these enzymes will digest our protein, our oils, sucrase, our sugars while we eat. And just on that note, on sucrase, not many people have that enzyme. And if you look at the bottles of enzymes that are available, you don't find the enzyme sucrase. Sucrase enzyme will digest cane sugar. Not many people can do that. Therefore, the sugar, the glucose, is not broken down into sucrose, mannose, the smaller form fractions and fragments of glucose molecule, and the full glucose molecule gets absorbed into the body. And similarly, if the protein's not digested and there's a leaky gut, the big piece of protein will move through. Undigested oils and fats will also move through a leaky gut, a distorted intestine with holes in it. So we've got to make sure we've got these enzymes. I just wanted to point out the importance of the sucrase enzyme, and you don't get it in a formula. And most people don't have it. That's why they talk about blood sugar as opposed to blood sucrose levels. That's what they should be talking about. But it just shows you there's too much glucose floating around in our body. And should we really even be eating cane sugar? And I'm going to leave that to you to answer. I think we know the answer to that already. Children's heroin. It even looks like it. I mean, it's white powdery stuff. So very important now, these enzymes. Some are for digestion and some are to break down the scarring, the fibrin, the protein particles in the blood, in the rest of the body. And those enzymes you would take not while you're eating, in between meals. All right, so those would be metabolic enzymes. Even if you took digestive enzymes not with meals, they will go and break down the scarring. So the one we have in particular is Nattokinase, and that one is a metabolic enzyme, and we use it really specifically for people with lots of degenerative tissues, for example, the cancers and so on, even where the nerve system is damaged, affected, and anywhere where the energy is so low and we need to build up the metabolic pathways of the body. So you get a digestive enzyme and a metabolic enzyme. Then the other ones that are very important are the hormones. Hormones are critical. Now, I mean, we all know about hormones, and everybody's always trying to balance their hormones, and the hormones are out. My hormones are out, Jane. Please have a look and see if my hormones, etc. Yes, and we can trace it back to, is the stock there? are the stock amino acids actually there. And I'm going to reveal some very interesting information to you very shortly. And you won't need to go and buy your hundreds of different protein shakes and protein everything. It's going to be really, really interesting. I'll show you in a moment. So hormones are proteins, and they could be insulin, they could be cholecystokinin, they could be thyroid hormone, they could be adrenaline, they could be estrogen, progesterone hormones. So often we mistake a lack of the hormone as opposed to the hormones are there, but they're not being called to release. And many of you who've listened to my talks will know what I'm talking about. So when the body calls for hormones, it sends a message to the liver. The liver then sends a chemical message in the blood all the way to the brain, hypothalamus, pineal, and pituitary. They will then gather the thyroid hormone or the estrogen or the digestive hormones and release them into the body. Now, if you've got a blocked liver, blocked gallbladder, very thick, dirty blood, and let's say calcified brain, they're not going to get released. So what happens is I'll get an elderly, usually a lady, coming in to see me, and she's on altroxin for the thyroid. She's on glucophage or insulin for diabetes, blood sugar. She's not digesting her food. She's got adrenal fatigue. Her bones are undernourished. And I said digestion already, the liver. So she would be on a lot of medications. That's not the problem. There's what's called a hormone cascade that cascades down. And what we would need to do with her is to clean the liver, the gallbladder, the blood, and the brain. And then suddenly, voila, the hormones are there. I get men coming in, Jane, you need to do something. My manhood is suffering. My wife's upset. And within next to no time, we've not only got oxygen in the blood and massive circulation happening and so on, but we're getting proper release of hormones. So hormones are critical, and they need proteins as well. Also, we get proteins necessary for transporting molecules across the cell membrane and into and within the bloodstream. So hemoglobin, for example, that carries oxygen. And those of you who know me well, and I think the company that I support regarding iron must know or must whatever, because I sent all my people to go and get the liquid iron. Because without iron, we can't carry oxygen. So oxygen is always number one as a nutrient. So we need the hemoglobin. We need it to be made, and it can't be poor, and we can't have low number of red blood cells, you see. So the whole body's holistic and integrated. So we really do need the protein, like the ferritin, to be part of the iron complex. Another important part of proteins is our immune system. Absolutely critical, because without our army, how do we ward off disease? How do we fight infections? So antibodies are proteins. They're crucial for the immune system to identify and neutralize foreign pathogens. So let's build the immune system, and that will be together with the microorganisms. And people talk about immunoglobulins, IgG, IgA, and these are all protein-based. You can see proteins are really important for the major metabolic pathways and biochemical systems in the body. So also, after carbohydrate and oil, protein is in fact an energy source. It's not as efficient as a carbohydrate because it's harder to break down, but when it does break down, it gives you energy too. So even endurance sports people will benefit from a good source of protein for their energy levels too. So those are in a nutshell main important important roles of proteins. But if we have a look at the amino acid, now this is where digestion becomes really critical, because without microorganisms, we cannot cleave out of the big piece of protein, the sprout or the meat, or the chlorella, for example, we can't cleave out the amino acids. Amino acids are what we absorb. So as I said earlier, if you've got a leaky gut, you're going to get protein and glucose molecules and huge fat molecules in your bloodstream, which are going to hang around and slow the blood down. That's not what we want, and we don't want a leaky gut either. So we want an adequate amount of microorganisms, as in the microbiome reset, which has got 80 to 120 live strains. Have a look on the website. I've got very special specials on at the moment, good promotions, and the probiotic is on promotion, both sizes. So go and stock up. It's got a shelf life of at least 6 months. So then you've got your stock for the winter months if you're in the southern hemisphere. So very important that the amino acids are cleaved out, and the probiotics do that for us. But the chewing starts in the mouth. The saliva, okay, that's mostly carbohydrate, but the chewing, breaking up the particles, exposing the surface areas. As they get smaller, the surface area gets bigger, easier to digest. So very, very important. And there are about 20 or so different amino acids that we need to look at. And these figures vary, whether it's 17 or 20 or 22. These are essential and we do need them. And on the QUEXED quantum devices, the Dr. the Skio that we use, it actually lists them for you. And you can see, what your levels are and where you're missing. Is it the kidney amino acids? Is it tryptophan, serotonin, the neurotransmitter proteins? Is it enzyme proteins? Is it digestive hormones? Wherever it is, where are the hormones, the amino acids that are missing? So we actually track it, and with that device, let's say, for example, I had a man with a very bad cancer at the back end of the tongue, and it's swelling and he can't swallow. So we had to use the quantum machine last night to feed him. So he got minerals, proteins, carbohydrates, fats, oils, minerals, vitamins, phytosterols from the device. And these quantum devices actually monitor the astronauts when they've left the planet as well. They feed them. And that's east and west. Use that with the astronauts, these devices. Nothing like the quantum medical device, but they have the devices at the space stations, just to tell you. So that's how we helped the client last night. So we want to get all of these in and have a look at what, the diverse functions of these amino acids specifically. So the non-essential ones would be the body's able to make them. The essential ones, I'm going to tell you there's actually 5. Because if you've got these 5 essential amino acids in you, you will make the rest for the entire body for the rest of your life. Okay, so just hold on about that. We can make all of them, whether it's 17, 20, or 22, from 5 basic amino acids. And I'm going to show you where we get them, and you'll be amazed. So we've talked about all of that. The main differentiating factor of a protein molecule is the nitrogen base. And I'll tell you a story about that, because the first food that's synthesized out of the atmosphere onto the planet was blue-green algae, like a spirulina. And it is 90% protein dry weight. And that is the nitrogen molecule from the atmosphere that came in and made the spirulina, the first ever food of the entire planet. And that then started respiring and breathing in the carbon dioxide and the oxygen out, so that the planet could sustain life. So very interesting, and it's an unbelievably nourishing food. All amino acids there. Those foods have got all of them. You don't have to do anything. So there's some key specific amino acids. I'm not going to go through all of them, but for example, something called leucine, it will stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So the bodybuilders, the endurance people will like that one. They will look at it. If you look at a bodybuilding formula, a big fat tub, if you excuse the sugar and the whey and the everything else that they've added synthetic to it, many proteins, by the way, today are synthetic. So you better be very careful, anyone out there who's taking protein supplements. The other place where proteins are synthetic is when they want to drive the molecule into the through the intestinal wall and into the blood. So they will have an amino acid chelated copper, iodine, and the proteins to make sure they get through into the bloodstream. But that's not the beginning and the end of everything, because the body has to recognize that it's in the quantum space, natural. We've got a three-dimensional spin, a vortex, and then it's going to help the cell. If it doesn't, it's treated as a toxin. So, I mean, I'm a little bit done with blood levels on anything, and especially synthetic patented products. So be careful of this. The body can't recognize synthetic anything, so it's got to adjust it. Either use it or store it as a toxin, and then it's going to affect the workings of the body. The other good thing that leucine does will regulate energy. Another one, a favorite one that people like is glutamine. It supports immune function and critical for gut health and, in fact, brain, because gut and brain go together. Tryptophan, this is an amazing one because this one leads to serotonin, our happy hormone. You'll get tryptophan in brown rice, seeds, even in dairy products. That's why you have in the old days, a glass of warm milk before you slept. It would bring in the tryptophan amino acid to relax. Just saying. So the precursor to serotonin being the tryptophan, that's going to induce beautiful sleep and good moods and happiness. So we definitely want some of that. Raw cacao is the plant that has the highest amount of base proteins to produce tryptophan and serotonin. It's one of the reasons we love raw cacao, apart from the magnesium and the other antioxidants and minerals. So that's a good one. Arginine is another one, lots of nitric acid supporting blood flow, cardiovascular health. So the way the body's designed, these amino acids are grouped together in their different structures to help support the functioning of the organ. Cysteine is another major one, with that cysteine with a C. And especially people go for NAC, N-acetylcysteine injections for energy. They will take it in that form as well. And in fact, that cysteine molecule is just one of the sulfur-based amino acids. There are others. For example, glutathione contains 3 sulfur-containing amino acids. So the idea is to get to glutathione, which is an antioxidant more superior than vitamin C, very specific for the liver as well, to detox free radicals. But you need the sulfur molecule in the amino acid, nitrogen-rich amino acid structure. So that just gives you the reason that we need the cysteine, and it's also very important for detoxification. The homocysteine levels you will have heard talked about. So you will find these amino acids in fresh organic sprouts, organic nuts, seeds, the blue-green algae, the pollens, the propolises, the medicinal mushrooms, also the kelps, the Irish moss, those foods. You will find the amino acids there in abundance. So everyday foods you would get, you would find in eggs and seeds. I'm sorry if the network is a problem. My side seems okay. But thank you for telling me. I checked my speed before we started. I was on 200 and 200. So hope it's working okay. We're talking now specifically on eggs, meat, red meat, chicken, fish, dairy, cheeses, yogurts, and so on. That's where you will find good sources of animal proteins. And then they are all complete. The spirulinas, the medicinal mushrooms, the pollens and that are complete proteins as well. Maca powder is missing one. So maca powder is also a really good source of protein and a whole lot of other things as well. Where you find good proteins, you're going to find good minerals, you're going to find good proteins, oils, fats. They just all go together in superfood. But also things like incomplete proteins in beans and lentils. And when you mix what's gone and happened traditionally as well would be to mix a chickpea or a lentil with the brown rice, and then you can build your own essential your meal of containing all the essential proteins. So there's lots of ways to do it, and they don't have to all be in the same meal either, because your body doesn't only just take protein in once a day. It's taking in the protein all the time. So those will be dietary sources. And then just some of the 365 Healthy by Choice products, I've mentioned a lot of them. In my ACTIVA Stem Cells, I've got 5 major plant-based superfoods. It's the royal jelly, the blue-green algae, the Cordyceps, lion's mane, and foti. But the first 4 are very, very dense in nutritious, easily, readily available amino acid sources. They are all complete proteins. So they even start getting absorbed through the mucosa membrane in the mouth. They don't need digestion. They are in the amino acid form. And a sprout, the same thing. It's in the amino acid form. So then you're eating for free because your body doesn't use any energy for digestion and absorption. It just all happens by osmosis, for example. So those are unbelievable sources directly of proteins. Of course, the animal sources would be the most difficult to extract the amino acid out of the protein and then to metabolize it and eventually get it absorbed into its simple form for use. So always think of the energy required by the body. Then in my stress defense shield and my brain fuel, I have 30 nutrients in there, but I've got all the mushrooms, all the algae in there, the kelps. And so that's also packed with over and above other things, including adaptogens, proteins. So, protein is always good because it anchors the blood sugar. So I always say to people that have a tendency for blood sugar to creep up, make sure you've anchored the insulin and the blood sugar with protein. So you would have a handful of sprouts, for example, or some soaked nuts and seeds. So that's the other thing. Nuts and seeds would need to be soaked to enable the amino acids to be readily available as well. And then now the one I've been waiting to tell you about, replica RNA DNA. All of these are on the 365 Healthy by Choice website. If you can't find them, just search in the search bar at the top and read what I've written. Most of the products have got a little video clip as well next to them to give you some more information and lots more information on the site. So replica RNA DNA is bacterial cell wall fragments exactly in our genetic code. So we're talking genetics here. We're talking complete essential amino acids as well. Replica RNA DNA contains uracil, which is the main, one of the main amino acids in mRNA. mRNA is a single strand, and it needs to join as a cell divides. It joins with one of the divided strands of the double DNA helix and forms a new cell. So we're going to get 2 mRNA strands binding with the cell as it splits the DNA. And carries on into perpetuity. So we need the mRNA. We also need it, guess what, for protein metabolism. So people, and this is, I do assessments at health stores weekly. And I can tell you that protein digestion is a massive, major, I would say, epidemic, because people are not digesting protein. The stomach is not acid enough. There's too much acidity in the body. The uric acid is through the roof. The gut doesn't digest it. It accumulates in the liver and it accumulates in the kidneys. And then it calcifies, and then you get stones. So who wants that? So it's so important, the chewing, the probiotics when we're eating, and the acid levels. I often say to people, squeeze lemon juice onto your food to create an acid level in the gut just for digestion, and the lemon juice becomes alkaline after that anyway, but we do need it. And if we're stressed and we're rushing and we're eating on the run, you're not going to be acidic enough either in the stomach. So very important thing is to get that digestion of the protein through. So mRNA with the uracil is for protein metabolism, as would be the enzyme protease. So if your pancreas is not giving you enough of that because it's not getting called for and the messages aren't getting through, or it's not getting made because there are not enough base amino acids, then of course the protein also isn't going to digest. So protein digestion, you need acidic environment. You need sometimes we put, with my digestive enzymes, we'll put betaine, hydrochloric acid, to help with that. So, but this is not for people that are hypersecreting acid. That's for another talk on another day. You definitely don't do this. So let's get messenger RNA and let's get digestive enzymes in, and let's do away with this protein accumulation. The lymphatic system, by the way, also clogs up when there's big pieces of undigested protein that have somehow got through into the body. So it's absolutely critical. Rather, I always say less is more. And just so that you know, a tablespoon of dry weight spirulina has got more protein in it than a tablespoon of chicken, for example, chicken mince. And if you cook that chicken mince, it's even less available. So the spirulina is 100% bioavailable. The body can use it immediately. But when you cook animal protein, it changes its nature and becomes more difficult to absorb. Microwaving, any of those, difficult. Even if you grill it on a fire, it solidifies the protein and becomes very difficult to cleave the amino acids out. So you would find probably in a cooked piece of meat, 10 or 20% is available. The rest goes to waste and it clogs the body and the kidneys and so on. So be very careful that we, of this. And, over the last 20 years, 30, 40 years, they've, the recommended daily amount of protein is, gone up 5 times because the meat industries and so on, want people to keep on eating meat and lots of it. And, it really does acidify the body and, it ages you. It has a very big negative effect on the kidney. So the minute the kidney is in failure, they take you off animal protein, especially red meat, because it's going to create uric acid. So we must be kind to our body, I think. So in the replica RNA, there's the uracil amino acid, there's adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. Those 5 building block proteins will make every single protein, all of them that I've talked about today, known, unknown, and in future, amino acids for us. And protein is critical for our evolution. It's the changing nature of protein that evolves us, just to tell you. It's also the protein in the S, protein, that will devolve the human being. See, so protein's got, obviously there's duality in our world at the moment. But let's work with the proteins that are evolving us. And you get those from the highly intelligent plant-based foods, which would, again, just to repeat, all the pollens, propolises, royal jelly, spirulina, blue-green algae, chlorella, kelp, Irish moss, wakame kelp, reishi, chaga, shiitakes, lion's mane, maitake, Coriolus, chaga, if I didn't say it. Those are the golden foods as far as I'm concerned. When I go away, that's what goes into my luggage. And it doesn't matter then if I've had a salad here and it hasn't had a lot of protein in it or whatever, I'll make up when I get home. So, very important, all of that. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Go to the 365healthybychoice.com website, go to the sale items, search in the top bar, and read up about these magnificent proteins. You could buy yourself the stress defense shield, the brain fuel. Some people in a friendly way say they're addicted to it. And I think me too. You know, I've been taking that stress defense shield for years and years and years since I started making it. It's in a raw cacao base, and remember cacao and tryptophan and serotonin. And I used to make children's chocolates out of it, because then I knew my children were getting good doses of what they really needed. And just to say, that these plants, for example, take a medicinal mushroom. It's not actually earthly. It grows out of the huge tree trunk, but it comes from intergalactic space, and it comes here to educate us and to shift our DNA. You see, so we need it. Those of you who want to be really on top of your game. I hope you've loved this. This has been our second feature on proteins. And next week I'll have a new feature in store for you. Any further questions, please direct message me, or email, or speak to me on the WhatsApp groups. Thank you.